Good morning, Duke Emworthy here, and it's the 12th of the 12th, 2021, and we're revisiting the previous video, but now I've put in at Stonehenge the septuple squares, and the only reason that I've found these septuple squares is because I've read the work of Howard Crowhurst at Karnak. And he finds these septuple squares, and he finds that the designers were aware of true north in the designs. And we're going to see that the line here from the centre of the Stonehenge cursus, where the white path is, travels at exactly 0 degrees, so it's heading true north, and it finishes at the Avebury cursus, the yet to be discovered Avebury cursus, and we can look at where it finishes, and it's right on the Avebury cursus, the line, and again I'll repeat that it's 90,000 feet from the starting point here, and it's true north. So this design is rotated 4 degrees towards the west from true north, which means that the back bearing of the line from the centre of Stonehenge going right up to the centre of Avebury is on a back bearing of 176 degrees. Now all these squares that you can see are exactly 40 square acres in size, each one of them, and it makes for a total acreage of 560 acres in the two sets of septuple squares. Now, bearing in mind that the perimeter of Stonehenge has got 56 post holes around it, and there's an assumption that the distance between each post hole is 10 units, we've got 560 units around the perimeter of the Aubrey circle, the first phase of Stonehenge. And now we've got these two rows of septuple squares, and the total acreage is 560 acres, because the side of each one of these squares is 1320 feet. And if you multiply 1320 by 1320, you get 40 acres area. So the assumption is the acre is a very ancient unit of measure that was used by these designers. Seeing as they were farmers, it seems a reasonable assumption to make. And they also use the mile, and the distance round each one of these squares is 5,280 feet. And if we look at the Stonehenge cursus, which is 7 of these units in length, 9240 feet, we find that this is 560 units of the English rod of 16.5 feet. So the metrology is absolutely leaping off the page at us here. There's no denying it. 560 is a theme running through the whole of this design, as is 660, where each square, if we divide it into 4 units of 10 acres, the side of each square is 660 feet. And if we take 660 and divide it by 560 and multiply by 12, because we're using feet, we get 10 root 2 as 99 over 7. And this is intrinsic in the whole design, because each one of these squares is going to give us root 2 as a if this is a circle, then the diameter of the circle is going to be root 2. Now also, if we take 1320 and multiply it by 10 over 9, which is the ratio between the circle and square as per Algernon Berryman in his book Historical Metrology, we get a circle of 1466.666 units, and this is the eclipse unit that we've already talked about, and this is ever present in these designs. And we can just talk for a minute about some of the circles that we can see on here, because this one here, going through the centre of Stonehenge, is on a line of 6 miles, on a radius of 6 miles from the centre of Old Sarum. So that circle is 31680 feet in length. And John Michel tells us that the number 31680 is fundamental to historical metrology. So that's that circle. This one is giving us the length of the cursus at 9240 feet, and it's centered here on the white line. Now, this line that's 9240 feet is also the center for the design of the megalithic cross, something that I've already presented, but on the next presentation I'll revisit it, because the megalithic cross is centered on this line, which is at right angles to the line going up to Avebury, which is 4 degrees off true north. Exactly. So I've talked about the Avebury cursus, and as a final extension to this presentation, which is absolutely supporting the work of Howard Crowhurst at Carnac, as we would expect, because these measures here have been produced by Tom, as were the measures at Carnac. So it's only right that we can produce these septuple squares as Crowhurst did. But when we actually find the metrology of them, where we've got 40 acres, a side of 1320 feet, which is the Saxon foot being used here, which is 13.2 inches, then we know for sure that historically everything in this diagram is standing up to scrutiny. And then the final thing that I want to show you is the Avebury cursus. So we can go up to Avebury, hopefully. We can pull out so that we can see the cursus in its relative to Avebury. And there it is. And I've put it on this time lapse because we can see it. I've drawn round it. And we can see how similar it is to the Stonehenge cursus, where there's this little sort of movement at the end of the cursus that is changing the direction slightly. And down here we've got the sanctuary. And if we rotate that 90 degrees, it's laid out virtually the same as the cursus at Stonehenge. This would be Stonehenge, the sanctuary would be Woodhenge. We've talked about that. But this time lapse is proving to our archaeologists that there was an ancient cursus here. And we can see how the landscape is perfect to produce the cursus in this instance, because we're using Google Timelapse, which we've done before. And if we move it, we can't really see it. It's hidden. The only way we can make it out now is because the lines are there, whereas on the previous time-lapse it stood out like a sore thumb. Now here is the 90,000 feet line. It ends up right in the middle of this cursus. So it's exactly cursus to cursus. And this can't be chance. It's got to be an exact measure. So if anybody knows Howard Crowhurst, would you please point him to this presentation? Because I think it's so important what's been discovered at Stonehenge. And there's much, much more that I've discovered that reconciles to Howard's work. And I'll be presenting that very shortly. So thank you.